Talking with the experts.
Hello, welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. And Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. And you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And I have a bit of a different type of guest today. He's going to teach us all about humour, and his name is Joseph Wilkins, and he is the founder of funnysalesvideos.com, and he has a podcast called How to Make a Video Go Viral. Now, part of what we're going to be discussing is how to make video conversion campaigns, both from the creative process and the back-end sales funnels, and use them to turn views into sales. And how Joseph does that is by he begins its show with a disclaimer that that makes a video go viral, and it shouldn't actually be the goal of the video. So I'll let Joseph explain that to you. Welcome, Joseph, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Rose. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to share some of the things that we've done over the past 20 years.
All right. So how does one make a video go viral?
That's the million-dollar question, right? So we tell people back in the day, so maybe 10 years ago, you could actually create a video if it was entertaining enough and just put it on YouTube or put it on Facebook, and there was a likelihood that it would, quote unquote, go organically viral. But these days, Facebook and YouTube and all of the platforms are their algorithms are much smarter, and they know that if you're a business, you're making money, and so they want a piece of the pie. And so the only real organically viral videos these days are, cat videos and funny celebrity videos that have huge followings already. It's almost impossible for a business to create a video that goes viral on its own. And so what we do and what we teach is that what you want to think about is if you had a vending machine that was full of $100 bills and it cost $20 to use that machine, how many times, Rose, would you want to use that machine?
Till the $100 bills were gone.
Exactly. But this is a magical vending machine and there's no limit to the bills. So you'd want to keep pumping in those 20s if you were getting $100 out. And that's kind of how any marketer should look at marketing. And specifically with these kinds of videos, the difference is over the past 20 years of producing TV commercials and infomercials, and then pretty standard traditional corporate sales videos that got mediocre results online. We used to get huge results on TV, but people just don't watch TV the way that they used to. And so what we are trying to do now is for clients who are kind of breaking even, putting that $20 in and getting $20 out, but they're getting their name out there, or maybe they're putting that $20 in and getting $40 out. What we do is we teach companies how to create a video that's so much more entertaining, that's so much more relevant, but still furthers a sale, a conversion goal, whatever that is, sale, a lead, any other action that you want them to take, but how to create a video that's so engaging that when you put that $20 in, you're going to get, 60, 80, $100 back, right? And so it's not about getting a video to go viral. It's about getting a video that every time you pay YouTube or Facebook to show it to your target audience, it gives you such a good result that you want to keep funneling that money in. And so eventually what happens is it looks like it went viral because it has millions of views, simply because it's so effective. And so people looking at it will see, hey, this video has 10 million views, but really 90% of those views have been purchased but are returning. And then you'll get, maybe 10% of the views will be virally organic because people will want to share it. But you have to, it's like a snowball. You have to start it at least with paid ads to start getting those views up and those shares up and those comments that will make Facebook and YouTube and the other algorithms see, oh, this is content people actually want to view.
Yeah. So how would you create a video that, would get that many views?
Well, the short answer is we have a free ebook that you can download from our website that will take you through the 8 steps that we take every project through. And just to give you some reference, for 20 years, we produced videos that went online. And in the 20 years, I think the biggest video that we've ever had got 100,000 views, which, was good at the time. But when we switched to using these 8 steps, our average video is well over a million views. Our latest campaign between 2 videos has 60 million views, has generated millions of dollars in sales. And so following these 8 steps that are in our ebook, if you go to funnysalesvideos.com, scroll down to the bottom and you can download it. But I mean, I can go over those 8 steps really quickly.
That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
sure
Let me
that
pull
people
up.
would like to know, what they can do to make their own videos a bit more presentable, I guess.
Yeah. So I'll really quickly breeze through the 8 steps. The first one is discovery. You've got to know who your customer is, where they are, what they're doing, get as much information, build a very, very detailed customer avatar, right? It's marketing 101, whether you're doing a video, creating a brochure, you want to get to know who the customer is. And hopefully you've already got data on your customers. If you're a new business, look at, there's online tools and people that you can hire to build that really detailed customer avatar. But the more detailed you get, the better target you're going to define so that you can hit that target. Nobody's going to hit a target unless they know what it is and where it is. So the first thing is really understanding who your customer is, not just, are they male, are they female, what's their income? And those are demographics. You need those, but really going deeper to the psychographics. What makes them tick? What pushes their buttons? What are their deeper desires and motivations? And how does your product solve those issues? Step 2 is the most fun. It's the brainstorming session. And this could take, a month. And people kind of do a double take when I tell them our videos take between 4 and 6 months to produce. That's the difference between a video that really is going to convert and something that, is mediocre and will get mediocre results. Time is everything in creativity. But you've got to create what we call a brain share, a team of people that are all invested in the project, some of which should be your customer avatar. But let's say it's 10 people that you decide that you're going to have in your brainstorming session. Now, some people say, well, yeah, how do we do that in COVID? We do all of our brainstorming virtually. So we'll create a Google Doc, and the goal of the brainstorm is to put out, I would say, at least 50 completely different random concepts, ideas. This isn't a script. This isn't details. This is just, here's our character and here's his problem. Just those 2 things. So the whole thing, though, is it's got to be a safe environment where everyone feels free to throw out good and bad ideas, because some of the worst ideas will trigger somebody else to come up with a tangential idea that's just genius. Too many people stop at 3, 4, 5 ideas and just pick the best one. Well, then you've missed a whole opportunity of crazy ideas. And, the key word is disruptive. It can't be just the boring, simple first things that come to mind. And so, brainstorming is a huge part of the creative process. And so who do you know that's just a really creative person? I mean, there's no degree that you can look for a really creative mind. But, hopefully in your circle of influence, people that are creative. If not, you can hire creative writers. There's online writing services like Fiverr and Upwork and, local classifieds. But what you're looking for is some really creative minds that will help bounce ideas back and forth. So step 2 is brainstorm. Step 3 is the scripting. That's when you take the high level concepts, and in your research phase, you should have reviewed a lot of customer reviews from your, hopefully you already have a lot of customer reviews, or look at your competitors and identify 5 selling points. What's the top reasons why people buy? And you want to prioritize those and hit the first one over and over and over again in the video. Number 5, you'll maybe mention once. So prioritize those 5 key selling points, put them into a script. You want to get some really good talent on your team. There are some things that you can try to do yourself and participate. I would say the script writing is something you really want to hire an expert. It doesn't have to break the bank, but look for creative writers that can take your brainstorm idea and create a fully fleshed story. It's got to have a problem, a good way to introduce your service as the solution, and then a good, strong offer, right? Marketing 101, you've got to have good reason why customers going to click on you rather than your competitor. Step 4 is add comedy. This is the fun part. Now, most people, including myself, and I'll give you a quick disclaimer, for 15 years, when the phone would ring and a customer would say, I saw this really funny Super Bowl spot, or I saw this really funny viral video, we want to do that, I would say, sorry, we don't do funny. And I'd put the phone down. True story. For 15 years, because bad humor is worse than a boring video.
Yes,
it'll sink your brand. It'll make you look silly. You can't be silly. You have to be clever and intelligent and match, the culture of your business. The last thing you want to do is, cheapen your brand with a silly video that just doesn't do the job. And so what I do, and the reason why I now don't say we don't do funny on the phone, is because I went out and I looked for some really talented comedians. Now, how do I do that? Well, regardless of where you are in the world, there's probably a comedy club somewhere near you. Spend some time there. Go listen to live stand-up comics. Nobody else is as trained at getting immediate feedback as a comedian, because they've got a crowd right there, and that's their number one job, right? That's a really hard job. I couldn't do that.
No, I don't think I could either.
Yeah. And the other thing is, comedians by their nature typically will work in the evening and travel to the next gig during the day. And so what do they have on their hands? Free time. Exactly. And they're really, most of them will work for a very reasonable rate, and they'll take a script. Comedians are not very good, and I learned this by experience, are not very good at coming up with stories. You want a good creative script writer to write your script, and that's why this is in this order. A comedian is very good at reading an existing story and punching up with jokes, right? Adding a joke here, adding a joke there, rewriting a line here. And so that's why, it's in that order. But, let's say you don't have a comedy club near. There are tons of comedy sites, comedians on YouTube. There are, again, sites like Fiverr that have comedy writers that are waiting for you to reach out. So, don't let "I'm not funny" be an excuse. Surround yourself with people virtually. And you want to, again, it's all about numbers. You want to go through as many jokes as possible. I would say at least 50% of the jokes that my comedians send and add to the script won't make it into the shoot, but 50% of them will. So it's about, not putting everything out there. And it also has to be relevant comedy. If a joke is distracting or doesn't further the sale, or, in some way is offensive, that's a whole nother subject. But you don't want to be offensive. You want to be on brand, and you don't want to offend your audience. You want to be disruptive, and I could go on forever about this. You want to be disruptive, and that by nature won't please everyone. If you don't get some complaints on your video, you haven't pushed it far enough.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, I could tell. One of the videos that we did, in fact, our most successful video, has close to 40 million views. It was the one about the laundry detergent that's dehydrated. It's these strips that you put in the laundry machine, and that cuts down on plastic waste because it comes in a recyclable envelope instead of these plastic bottles. Anyway, I started the video with the concept that, things you should never add with water. And we showed a witch, and we threw a big bucket of water over her, and she melted. And we got all kinds of complaints from these witches societies.
Oh, no.
it was hilarious. I mean, they put curses on us and the crew, but anyway, that's a very small minority. And we knew that we were, if you make jokes about certain things, you're gonna get complaints. I typically say, 80-20 rule, as long as 80% of people like it, but you still don't want to be offensive to the majority anyway.
No, absolutely not.
So between each step, you always want to be testing. You don't ever want to assume that what you think is funny is going to be funny to your customer avatar. That's why you want to continually go back to your brain share, that group of 10 people. If you have budget, the more the merrier. Use SurveyMonkey and other tools to test things to make sure that your audience is finding it funny, but most importantly, that they're understanding what the problem is, what your solution is, and that there's a compelling offer. So you're consistently testing the jokes, the script, the marketing points. So step 5 is where we get into production. And the most important part of the production process, and this is, coming from a production guy who spent 20 years in a production studio, is not the production crew. It's your actor. It's your hero brand character. Because that person has to connect with the end viewer. So I spend a lot of time auditioning actors, which doesn't cost anything other than my time, because actors will audition for free and then you only pay when you pick them. So reach out to your local acting agencies, find out, if you have a script that calls for a 30-year-old female, and she has these attributes, send that to your acting agency and say, send me as many options as you can, and they'll record their own auditions from home and email them. Okay. So I'll go through, that's something anyone can do, doesn't cost anything. I'll maybe go through 3 or 4 agencies. I'll probably audition at least 20 actresses, maybe call back 3 or 4 of them live on a Zoom like we're doing now, because it may be that they can deliver the line, on their own in the comfort of their home with no cameras and pressure, but you want to test them live to make sure they're going to respond in a live production environment. And I'll do things like, say that line faster, or say it slower, or say it in this tone, just to test that they're going to be able to react. You want to keep these, and we'll talk about this in a sec, you want to keep these ads as short as possible while delivering all of the information that you need to create a sale. And typically that's around 3-ish minutes. And people say, whoa, that's a long time for digital marketing these days. And it's true, but people don't stop watching a video because it's too long. They start watching because they get bored.
Boring, yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's why Facebook tells marketers, your ad should be 10 to 15 seconds, deliver the call to action immediately, show the product immediately. I'm the complete opposite. A lot of my videos, we won't even get to the product for the first minute, because we're building a story, we're developing a character, and we've tested long versions versus short versions. And almost every time the long version has outperformed the shorter version, because we're engaging people. We're hooking them in the first 5 to 10 seconds. We're showing a relevant problem. We're entertaining them. We're connecting them with the spokesperson. And then once that's established, when they show the product or service, they're much more likely to believe them, and most importantly, act. So picking the right actor. Second is picking a great camera crew. Obviously, you can go and do it yourself, and that's better than not doing it at all. But as you're scrolling through Facebook, or as you're clicking through YouTube videos, every other video looks the same because everyone's shooting it on their iPhone. So stand out, be disruptive, look different. And one of the ways to do that is to get really professional looking images. And you also want to make sure that the creative process is fun. Nothing kills creativity more than a stressful director saying, we've got to get our, we're behind schedule, hurry, hurry, hurry. It just kills all the spontaneity on set. A good actor should be given the time to improvise and to add lines and to improve the script. It should be better than what was written on the script. And that will only happen if you have a really fun, lighthearted, still get everything and be professional, but allowing the actors, time to play around in front of the camera as well as just deliver their lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so that's step 5. Step 6 is the editing. I would say the script writing and the editing are the most important, because a good editor can make up for any shortcomings in the production. But you got to have somebody, or you really should have somebody, who is a good comedy editor. You've heard in the expression, timing is everything with comedy. Yeah. I mean, you could tell me a joke, Rose, and you could tell it the exact same words. One would be slow and awkward. The other one would be punchy and right on. And it's the same words. The first one is boring. The second one is fun and I'll laugh at. It's the same way with editing. My editors will cut just at the right time to deliver the punchline. It's like music. You know, if the timing is off, it just doesn't feel right. And it's hard to explain that. And so an editor,
because I edit all these podcasts myself. So I'm really careful when I do the little short ones for, you know, to introduce the podcast to viewers before I actually air the full version. I'm really careful to cut, you know, so I'm not cutting half a word off, or I'm, you know, they're not halfway through a smile or whatever, just because, you know, I don't want them to look silly, and I don't want the viewer to think, well, you know, these aren't done very professionally. So yeah. Absolutely.
And that really only comes with experience and time, knowing and feeling what works and what doesn't. So again, you can do it yourself, but you know, it just depends. What is your return on investment, right? Companies always say to me, well, how much would it be to hire you? And, you know, we pride ourselves on being on the low end of the high production, right? So our competitors, you know, charge 3, 4, 5 times what we charge, but there are also companies that charge a fraction of what we charge. But we look at it as, you know, how can we deliver the most for the least amount of money, but still have all of the experts
the quality
on
has
the bus.
To be there. Yeah, the quality
exactly.
Has to be there. Yeah, I agree.
And that's just going to help your return.
Yeah, well, no one wants to get, you know, pay X amount of dollars and get a shitty video back.
Yeah, and it's not. And it's not just about the quality of the video; it's about the results that it brings you.
Yeah.
So spending a little more up front is going to yield a whole lot more in the back end if you do these steps right. You know, like I said, our last campaign is in the millions of dollars in sales. In fact, it paid back the production costs in 4 hours of launching it. That's how successful it was. Anyway, so the next step about editing is speed. You want to make this video as fast as possible without being too fast that people are overwhelmed and can't absorb the message. But the human eye and the human ear can absorb a lot more than we give it credit for. So we will make our videos so rapid pace. What I mean by that is if you watch any of the videos on funnysalesvideos.com, there's almost not a place where somebody gets to take a breath. It's one thing onto the next thing, onto the next thing, onto the next thing. And that way I'm not losing your attention. See, back in my day when we did infomercials, we would literally hire focus group companies to fill a one-way mirror room with people to watch the infomercial. And they had a little dial in front of them, and it would be on a happy face or a sad face. And we would watch them. Where are they getting bored? And I would, in my mind, when I was editing those infomercials, I would picture that person with a remote control. When are they getting bored and are going to pick up that remote control and change the channel? Well, in the online space, our attention span is orders of magnitude shorter than it used to be on TV. So I'm constantly thinking, is there any part in this video where people are getting bored or people are getting confused, or for any reason they would switch off? And that's why you've got to edit to keep that pace, not too fast, but you know, slow is the death wish, because people will just click off. Okay, so step 7, we get to the end here. Step 7 is testing. And really you do this at every single stage. So, you know, after you've scripted, after you've added the comedy, after you've picked your actress, after you've shot it, after you've edited it. And you also edit multiple versions of each video. We never just do one version. We'll do, first we'll shoot 3 opening hooks. So the same video with 3 different 5 to 10-second openings. And then we'll test them to see which one do people watch through the most. Before our clients dump all their money on black, we want to test, well, is it this one, or this one that is going to perform the best? So we'll test with a little bit of money on each one of them. And then whichever one works the best, they'll, go ahead with that one. But then we also edit, square versions for Instagram and for Facebook, because we know that people are watching them on mobile. We'll fill them with graphics because we know that 80% of our viewers don't have the sound on. We'll burn in the subtitles. Never let Facebook or YouTube automatically generate subtitles.
Oh, no, I hate that.
Yeah.
Right. They don't spell right.
No, they don't. And also they'll put too many words on the screen. And so it's too small to read. So we always have our designers create a nice little box at the bottom with the brand colors of the company, the right fonts, but we'll only have, one short sentence at a time. And so we can control the viewer experience, but that will get people visually to want to turn the sound on. We'll edit a widescreen version for YouTube and desktop versions. And then we'll edit shorter versions for Instagram where you can't put a 3-minute video, or much shorter versions for TikTok, or, so there's lots of different versions. We'll also shoot multiple retargeting videos so that once you've watched my video, if you don't buy, the next day you're going to get another video that says, hey, I saw you watched our video. I hope you liked it. Did you know when running a sale, 25% off, click now. It's the same hero of that video just coming back to greet you again. And that way you're constantly reminded until you buy, or we determine that you're not going to buy. So, testing is step 7. And then step 8, which is really a whole nother series, is forget viral. We've already talked about this. Forget going organically viral. What you need to do is you need to set up a well-oiled back-end machine that's going to take that viewer from clicking on your video. Well, what now? What happens now? And this is a whole nother, set of skills that we actually don't get involved with. We just produce the video, and then we collaborate with digital marketing teams that know how to create high converting sales funnels, squeeze pages, upselling, cross-selling. A lot of our videos, we're just there with the carrot dangling to say, maybe click now and get a risk-free trial, or a very small offer. And then in the sales page, we try to upsell you or add things on or cross convert to other products and services. But having a team that knows how to build those pages, also how to create the copy that's going to attract people to click on the video in the first place, whether to put this on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, all of those things, and buying the ads and making sure you're not spending too much, too little. There's a whole nother conversation about when you very first launch a video, you can optimize for clicks rather than immediate sales, just to get the first few, 1,000 views so that it looks like it's, more popular, so that Facebook will favor you. Having a really good digital marketing team that really knows how to run these kinds of campaigns, that's the other 50% of the equation. So you've got the good creative that we'll produce, or that you can produce using these steps, but then that's only halfway to the finish line being the sales conversion. You got to get a whole nother, strategy behind that with the digital marketing team. So there are my 8 steps.
Wow, they are like huge. For me thinking, oh my God, I just, talk to somebody, edit the video and send it back.
Yeah. Well, that's why literally when we walk into a company and they say, yep, we want you to produce a video for us. And we say, do you already have the second half of the equation? Do you already have an agency that's running your Facebook ads that knows what they're doing? And if they say yes, typically we'll come back, 3, 4, 5 months later with the finished video. They won't do anything different on the back end. They'll just replace their video with ours, and they'll see their return on ad spend double, triple. I mean, there's a reason why these ads perform so much better than your standard traditional ads that are boring and really didn't take much time to produce. It's because of all of that homework, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into each one of those 8 steps that brings us those higher returns.
Perfect. Well, I'll have to lift my game then, won't I? When I send it back to you. Okay, Joseph. So, where can people find you other than at How to Make a Video Go Viral? Is there any other places they can find you?
Well, so you can go to funnysalesvideos.com if anyone's interested in chatting to us about a campaign for your business. Just fill out the form on funnysalesvideos.com. You can reach out to me personally on LinkedIn, Joseph Wilkins, under funnysalesvideos.com. I'm pretty active there. But again, you know, we do a weekly podcast where we dive in much deeper into these details. But more interestingly, we interview people who have gone through this and have a very transformational result at the end of it. So, you know, we interview our clients, we reach out to clients that we didn't work with, but that they created videos that quote unquote went viral, and we ask them, how did you do that? So if this podcast has been interested to you, check out How to Make a Video Go Viral on all of the regular podcast platforms.
I'm sure that people will. It's been a really interesting conversation, and yeah, I really thank you for coming on, Joseph. It's I've enjoyed it. I was actually enthralled into everything that you said. So,
well, good. That's again, you know, that's the difference between these kinds of ads and your typical kinds of ads. That what you just said is the reaction that most of the customers that watch these ads will think and feel and will lead to action. So whether you reach out to us or whether your audience tries this themselves, I highly recommend it.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. I will just get this. I don't know. I'm really gobsmacked. I'm sorry. It was just like huge. It was huge. I so enjoyed it. All right. Thanks, Joseph, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds perfect. Thanks so much, Rose. Bye-bye.
Bye.